Hey man, say man, it's the one and only Jamaican man with ism, brought to you by HoopSpaces, and we bring to you PDX Business. What's up, y'all? You miss me? We still in it, not to win it, but we committed here at PDX Business. Developmental year for sure, but salute to HoopSpaces for staying committed to the vision that I have with PDX Business. Shout out to the Kings family HoopSpace affiliates, my boy Chewy, my boy Mikey. Salute to y'all for having me on last month. This right here specifically out of respect for the growth that Chauncey has put in with the rotations and how we have played with depth, even with still some injuries. I'll live react to the game and let you know exactly where we are, as I have with our first video and the second one with Dame against us. Sit back, relax, take your time, about like 11 minutes or so, and process what I process from an X's and O's standpoint. And as always, remember, it's in you, not on you. Easy. So right off the bat, I see what Chauncey is doing with our rotation. So our primary defender is Kamara. Our primary scorer is Ant. Our primary facilitator is Malcolm, right? Moses is there because DeAndre Ayton is hurt. So he's doing what he's supposed to. And notice that the gentleman that everyone's talking about, Joap Reith, the Australian nationalist from South Sudan, had a great game. But let's start there with the bigs. Ayton is out. I don't know if Ayton necessarily contributes to anything that we have long term, but neither do I feel like Jeremy Grant does as well. But what we are seeing is commitment by the entire roster to find a role and play into it, even Scoot, because Scoot played very well this game as well. I noticed the ball movement, as you can see here, consistent. We make movement to make the defenders move, and unfortunately, because I love Sacramento, what they've been doing, been able to build, they are reaching the ceiling, in my opinion. We know how good their players are. We know how good their depth can be, but they always find themselves penalized with not making shots at certain points. And in this case, our depth of defense to put their best players in positions to not necessarily score like Jop just did with Sabonis, even though they replaced and got the ball back to him, that creates further complications that shooting would relieve, but Sacramento doesn't necessarily have. But they do play fast, and I do notice that Chauncey, number 2, has picked up the tempo of what we are doing. It's no longer on defense where we're committed to stopping balls and stopping outlets to be able to then figure out what we want to do. We pretty much know that we want to bring Jabari off the bench, which is cool. Then Matisse. I like how they formalized the forward core that I spoke about in the last video. So we got Kamara being the lead defender, then Walker, the secondary defender, and treasurerly we have Matisse, who is shooting 40% from the field. So that combined with Jeremy getting his minutes, getting his touches, getting his numbers, Anthony getting his minutes, getting his touches, getting his numbers, and Scoot being able to develop through that, I haven't seen it anywhere else where you have this issue with 3 different types of rosters all being cohesive for various different reasons. But point 3, the floor spacing that Drop brings is cool, but I don't necessarily want him to shoot those shots, but his floor spacing allows for things like this to happen. You create outlets where you allow for any big Sabonis or JaVale McGee to be out the paint, which is normalized in this NBA. Cool. We rebounded together. I wouldn't say well, because depending on who we have on the court, we don't have that ability. But the team is bought in, and it's good that they've done this right before All-Star break. Way to run the floor, Joab. Way to run the floor. You know, they're playing hard, as you just saw there. I appreciate that. You allow for my man to get his buckets, get his minutes, and I saw somewhere this week that he's along the same lines of the production that Dame had at this time. But he's playing off the ball, and Dame is now more off the ball. And that might be a good place for players of that genotype, at least as far as Portland is concerned and them being successful. And it's not necessarily the playmaker, and Malcolm can show Scoot how to move. But as you can see, the lanes are open for us. We go to traditional NBA offense, high screen and roll, right? We keep Sabonis out the paint. And honest with defending with Jop's ability to shoot, but I don't know if that's necessarily something that he can do long term. I don't know if he's a 40% guy, just watching him develop this season, but it's something that could work. He is not a starting center in the NBA. I don't know if he's even a backup center in the NBA, but he can give you a quality 10 to 15 minutes in a winning situation. And shout out to Joe Cronin. The value of all these players are probably as high as it's been all season. Everybody across the board, which means that if we want to pick a better direction, and as you notice, I said injuries in the intro, you don't see Shaden out there. I don't necessarily know if there's a difference because everyone knows you got to play defense to get on the floor. Everyone knows we're playing fast, and everyone knows we're moving the ball, right? And shout out to Jeremy because he's picking these dunker spots, short corner spaces on the floor to allow for Ant, to allow for Scoot, to allow for Shaden to do their things on the wing. So shout out to the coaching staff. Shout out to Joe Cronin for maximizing talent. And now we're just saying, okay, who has a good night? You know, now you can go get yours if you are any of these players in our rotation. Because regardless of what happens post All-Star break, they're playing together. And I dare say, despite what I've seen from a lot of Portland enthusiasts, purists, and fans, Chauncey's hot seat is getting a little cooler. Because what do you want him to do? The team isn't built to win. The team is built to tank. According to what I've seen in this video, shout out to the guy that I ripped this from. I will give him a shout out at the end. But what do you want Chauncey to do? What can he do with the roster that he has besides get them together, playing together? He held them accountable. It was a loss we had earlier on in the season where he like, why y'all laughing? You know, this isn't a Stephen Silas, no disrespect situation in Houston or a Stephen Silas assistant coaching situation in Detroit. I do feel like it's a pattern. Wherever he goes, it goes down. But we got floor spacing. We got quality shots. We move the ball to get open shots. We force their talent into bad positions in the middle of the floor for Sabonis and De'Aaron Fox. We put them in that middle. We funnel them there to help. And it gets harder and harder. Although I feel like De'Aaron's jump shot is the best I've ever seen, you still want him to take that shot. Nice one-on-one situation. Okay. Bucky by Ant-Man. For sure. I will argue to say that he's the first. Great ball movement, great shot, great hit. Good shot. We got it to outscore. So we have roles now. If somebody's supposed to be doing what, we know who's doing what, if you will. And that doesn't take away from, although I just said the defensive forward assignments is what it is, we still get to go with the hot hands. And Scoot's getting much needed experience and minutes off the bench as the top 3 pick. I don't think that's bad. He's getting minutes as if he is a top 3 pick, but he doesn't have the pressure to know everything right away. Look at that rebounding. All that red in the paint. Jabari and Reeve and Scoot with him, and they had to call a timeout. That's what we're committed to do for the rest of the season. As long as we play that way, results don't matter because the longevity is what we're here for, and we still may be able to get a top 5 pick, honestly. We have 2, actually, with the, I believe, GP2 trade. We're in the top 10 because the Warriors are in flux. So we have their pick, and we have our own pick. Good shot, good pass. Again, Jeremy Grant in that short corner to Reef in that dunker spot. Somewhat of a pinch post type of situation, but he's not strong enough to get there. Anthony Simon with the bucket. That left-hand floater is working. Look at the switch. Good defense. Another switch. Hey, got to get there better than that. But Malcolm, you know, bad leg, so he's not going to be able to get to that all the time. But the spots is there. The defensive spots are there. Right into the action, screen-to-screener situation. Bucket. That comes with time, and I feel like time has passed to allow for us to show that we can compete. Maybe we play some spoiler the rest of the season. Jeremy going to get his numbers regardless. But he's moved from that wing from the last 2 seasons to the short corner. Please, you know, let the record reflect that. Great players are going to be great players, but good players know how to get to their spots, get to their shots, and be a professional. Now, we can't take away that big dunker spot because we don't have our big to actually blanket that. And I'm not even sure if DeAndre Ayton on the floor can do that. Good 40% shot right there from the corner from Matisse. And yeah, that's how it went down. I don't know if that's good for Mike Brown, but it sure is good for us. I appreciate y'all. I appreciate the rip that I have here from here. And these are the stats. Not bad, but not good for Sacramento's playoff chances. And this definitely bodes well for us going forward as far as knowing when to win and how. Thank you so much for stopping by and checking us out, man. And I didn't want to waste your time with each episode that we drop of PDX Business. Salute to the Kings. Shout out to TSF Kingdom. Shout out to Mikey and Chewy. Shout out to OG Chris at HoopSpaces. Shout out to Chauncey, Jody, Joe. I appreciate what y'all doing. I see it. And it was hard to find this video. But remember, it's in you, not on you. Y'all may not be paying attention to us right now, but soon, rather than later, we're undeniable. Yes.